Justice, welcome to Peru.
Thank you so much.
So tell me, how was it tech-wise to work on this movie? I mean, how was the technology? Was it everything green screen, live sets?
Actually, Rob Letterman, our director, wanted to use as little green screen as possible to make it as real as he could. And it's always difficult to work with characters that aren't there, but again, he really set an environment that made me feel comfortable and let me know at all times where he was, how tall he was, where my island was. So we made it work at the end of the day.
And how many takes do you have to make for each scene?
I mean, it depends on the scene, but we did have to do a specific take with a puppet, a specific take without a puppet where I would just work with nothing, and then a tape where I step out and we just like run a plate, and that was all for special effects purposes, and that was for every single scene we had to do that.
And how was it? How was your interaction with Ryan Reynolds? Were you shooting with him, or it was only like a voice?
I shot with him for 2 days, where we got to improvise in real time and talk over each other so the audio wouldn't be messed up. But then he had to leave to record in the booth, and then I kind of remembered our dynamic and then recreated my side of it.
You had like a real Pikachu, because a lot of time you had him on your shoulder.
Yeah, I mean, I would, there were some puppets that were weighted. They were sometimes just a weight that was sewn into the jacket. But a lot of times it was just me thinking about, okay, if something heavy is on my shoulder, I need to counteract the weight by moving my shoulder up, and I have to give him space to be there, so I have to move my head out of the way. And then if he crawls to my other shoulder, then I have to put him on there. And then they would just animate to my movements.
You've worked in a lot of movies. You worked on Jurassic World and The Get Down. How is it different to playing like with real actors and then with things that don't exist?
It's crazy because I got so used to playing with CGI characters, doing Jurassic and then doing this movie, especially on this movie, because about 75% of the movie is me talking to myself. Right. And then when I did a movie right after this one, had no CGI and was with real people, I almost forgot how to act with other human beings because you get used to one thing and it's hard to go back to the other thing. But it's cool. I feel like I'm stretching my acting muscles in that way.
What would you say was the toughest scene for you to make on this movie?
Probably one of the funniest scenes and one of my favorite scenes in the movie, which is the Mr. Mime scene. Because it was just me, a lamp, and a stool in a room, in a warehouse with all of the crew behind camera and me talking to nothing. And I had to mime, I had to remember where Mr. Mime was, how tall he was, and then also how tall Pikachu was. And if Pikachu moves, I have to remember when he moves, in addition to acting on top of all of that. So that was kind of difficult, but it was fun.
Do you think like Tim's story is kind of what a lot of kids went through, that when they were kids, they loved the show and the video games, then they kind of went away and then they come back? Because Tim's story is like he kind of disconnected from the Pokemon world and then reconnected with his dad.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's really cool the way the Pokemon company spans multiple generations and how there are people in their 30s who can bond with people who are 9 over something that they're both passionate about. I think that's beautiful, and the Pokemon company has always been about building community in that way. I feel like Tim's specific experience with his father kind of jades his perception of Pokemon. So that's not really specific to actual people, but maybe there are some comparisons to this idea of losing that childhood passion, that childhood love as we get older, and then indulging in nostalgia once you do become more conscious of yourself. Yeah.
Do you think that this is like the first step in like a bigger thing? I mean, do you think that this is gonna be the first, like the Iron Man movie, and then you're gonna create like a whole Pokemon universe?
This is the new Iron Man. Yeah, I mean, there's already a pre-established Pokemon universe. It's really cool that we're taking it into a live-action realm, and I hope and am excited for other films that exist in this realm. It's like, what's the name of the Marvel? MCU?
MCU.
This is the PCU.
The PCU. If you had to choose one Pokemon partner, which one would you choose?
Totodile.
Totodile.
From Generation 2.
Gen 2.
Yeah, he's my favorite. Yeah.
you're a big fan of the video games?
Yeah, oh yeah, I had Pokemon Gold for Game Boy Color, I had Pokemon Stadium, Pokemon Snap, Pokemon Crystal, I had all of the original cards, I had a figurine of Totodile, I watched the anime, I have Pokemon Go on my phone right now. I'm gonna get Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield when it comes out.
Both.
I wanna get both. And I also just recently downloaded Let's Go Pikachu on my Nintendo Switch, so I have to play that. But I haven't played that yet. Oh, but I've also played the Detective Pikachu game.
Okay, did you play it?
Yeah, I played it on Nintendo DS. Yeah, they gave it to us when we were on set.
Oh, you had to play it? It's one of
We didn't have to, but they were like, if you want to. And I was surprised about how similar it is to the movie. I mean, there's definitely a departure, but there's a lot of story elements that are similar.
Were you part of the Pokemon Go craze when it came out?
Yes, but I had a really bad phone, so it crashed my phone, and then so I fell out of it. And then recently I've re-downloaded it, and I was playing it at the airport. I'm playing it here in Peru. I'm catching as many Pokemon as I can.
And do you prefer? I mean, you work with both, with real actors and CGI. Which one do you prefer now that you both work?
Oh, that's a really good question. I mean, I definitely there's you can't it's hard to shape a performance without feeding off of somebody else. So, like, you're only good because of if your other actor is good. Like, a lot of acting is about listening and responding. So, but that being said, I've now trained in this realm of just imagining what the other person is doing. Again, I just hope that I can switch back and forth at a drop of a hat. That's what I'm, I like them both though.
Okay, cool. And last question. Who do you think this movie is for? It's for Pokemon fans? It's for people who kind of know Pokemon and...
It's definitely for Pokemon fans. There's a lot of detail and care that went into making this film. It's also for people who don't know anything about Pokemon, because at the center of the film is a very human story that anyone can relate to. It's funny because I always think that our prime audience are people my age, like millennials, people in their 20s and 30s. But, and then I forget, I'm like, oh no, kids are gonna see this movie too. And it's always funny when people are like, oh yeah, I can't wait to bring my kid. I'm like, your kid? Like, what? I'm like, this is a movie for me. This movie's for like my friends and me. Like, but no, like I said before, the Pokemon Company has done an amazing job of reaching out to all different age groups because of how long it's existed. It's exactly 23 years old, like I am. Yeah, so it's a film for everyone. It's a universe for everyone.
Cool. Justin, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
That's a twist. That's very twisty.